Because sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to give this to God, or God's going to see me through this and it's going to be so easy. It's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not. But that's, I think, especially when we get to strengthen that muscle.
And so everyone, thank you guys for joining. I just wanted to introduce my good friend, Miss Aimee Coppola. She is a lifestyle coach. She's helping women make simple lifestyle upgrades to align their daily habits with optimal health and vitality. She has successfully coached in private and in group settings to help women for over 13 years. She's a mom to 2 teens, and she's a proud small business owner and loves adventure travel. Let us welcome Miss Aimee.
Clap for myself. That kind of always feels funny hearing about yourself. Like,
no, you do all the things. You do so much. And I feel like even this bio is just like very minimal to all the things that you're doing. You're literally, a keynote speaker. You are a church leader, and just so much, so many hats that you wear. And I'm just so honored to call you friends. And so I'm going to tell you, I'm going to ask you, just as I ask everyone else that's a part of this series, to just share one time where you had to take a leap of faith.
Yeah. So I've got so many of those. And, the training that I got to give this past weekend in Arizona, my opening bio, I actually added, and I should have added it to this one. So here you go. I'm also an expert at failure and resilience.
Wow.
And, I think that God created us all with this amazing capacity that a lot of times the devil tries to keep us small. He tries to say, hey, you're not good enough for that, or you belong over here, or don't open your mouth, or look at that mess you made last time. Why are you going to go do that again? Who are you? And I think that the more bold we can be and the more accepting of our failures, and also to say, like, I hope she watches this so I could shout her out. One of my most amazing friends, Teresa, always told me, I was having a tough season one time, and I'll get into the original question, but I was having a tough season one time, and I told her, well, Teresa, God doesn't give us more than what we can handle. And she said, no, you're wrong. I was like, what? And she said, God gives us more than we can handle so that we can be reminded that we can't do this without him.
Ooh,
and I was like, oh,
so good.
So good.
Yes.
And that's always, it just stays with me time and time again, because, there are so many times that I'll bite off more than I can chew probably. And I have to, humble myself and understand, like, hey, I can't do this by myself. And I haven't had to do life by myself. I'm 40, how old am I? 45 now. And thankfully, he's been with me all of the ways. Even when I wasn't with him, he was with me.
That part.
And yeah. And I know that even in the parts when we think he's quiet, last year I had some, challenging times, and I was like, where is he?
Yes.
He was there.
Yeah.
He was letting me figure it out and leading me, in a quiet way to something beautiful. But the one I'm going to share with you quick today, and I think it's just really, it's emotional for me because my son is 17. He's a senior this year. And way back when, seems like another chapter in life, he was going into the 5th grade, and my daughter into the 1st grade. They were in a charter school, which was fine, but there were some things that I was feeling like I wanted to go look at other opportunities. And I was already divorced then, single, doing the whole single mom thing. And so I went on my own to go take a look at what was the most, like, mind-blowing school to me, the school that I always thought, like, if money weren't an obstacle, I would send my kids there, because I absolutely knew the community that they had. I knew the Christian faith that was not just taught, but lived out on that campus. And not that anywhere is perfect, but I knew that if money weren't an object, I would send them there. And so, out of this audacious boldness, I went and just to go tour. And I was actually kind of thinking about for the following year when he was going to go into middle school. He was at the end of 4th grade at this point. And I remember I started the tour, and the woman asked me, she didn't know yet the ages of my kids. And she asked me, she said, "Oh, so were you looking for this year or for next, the following school year?" And usually by this time, that school is way filled up. And I said, "Well, is there still space for this year?" And she was like, "Well, only in the first and fifth grades."
Wow.
And my kids were going into the first and fifth grades. And so I didn't even say anything because I was just like walking alongside her going, "What was that? Sign number one." Right?
Yes.
And so then we're taking the tour around, and it was just sign after sign after sign after sign that I left there feeling like I had been at home. And by the end of the tour, I did tell her, "It's crazy. You said first and fifth grade. My kids are going into first and fifth grade, but this was more just like putting this on my radar. I don't know financially if I could make it happen for this fall. I would love to, but that's a big leap." And she told me, she said, "Listen, there's any way you can do it. For him to come in fifth grade is a much easier transition for him than coming in the middle school year. So if you can do it, and just so happens to be space in first and fifth grade, highly recommend." And so I went home and I prayed about it, and I was like, it was like God had a megaphone in my ear though, like, "This is the place for you." And it was
Yes.
just like going home though and starting to look at numbers and thinking, how in the world could I do this? And even if I could swing it this year, how could I do it through the rest of it? The school goes all the way through his senior year, so this year being his senior year, and like, I'm trying not to skip ahead, but it was just something that I came home and I figured it out, and I thought, well, if you're going to do this, you have to be prepared to do it on your own, because you don't know that anybody else is going to contribute. And that's what wound up happening. I did have to do it on my own, but it wasn't on my own.
Yes.
It was with God. And every year, and I'm an entrepreneur, so there's not a set salary. There's all kinds of fluctuation of income. Some years are great, some years are not as great. Sometimes there's expenses that you're not counting on. But when I signed that contract, I signed it with God.
Yes.
And I said, "You led me here. You led us here. You've created this space for us here very clearly. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'll sign my name, but we're doing this together." And every single year, it has not been without challenges, massive challenges some years. But every single year, I signed that contract and I said, "Okay, God, here you go. It's on you. It's on you." And I get to practice that faith muscle like every single year. And again, I do want to share that it was not without challenge, because sometimes we think, okay, I'm going to give this to God, or God's going to see me through this and it's going to be so easy. It's not. It's not. But that's, I think, especially when we get to strengthen that muscle. I'm in health and wellness. I think of everything as a muscle, right? The more we practice it, the more repetitions we get, the stronger it's going to be. So I've had a lot of repetitions with my faith. But what I've seen time and time again is that He has provided. And sometimes it's through something totally weird or totally out of left field. But when it gets to that spot where it has to be, I'm like, "God, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you've done it before. I know you're going to do it again. I know you're going to do it again. I know you're going to." And I pray in that faith. I pray in that because I know that that's on Him.
Wow.
And I can have peace to say, "Hey, God, it's you." And so, all of these last 10, 11 years now, I've every year just thought about the day He crosses that graduation stage in his green cap and gown. And not because he needs to have a private school, but because he needed to have that foundation.
Yes.
He's in apologetics this year. He's learning how to defend his faith when he goes out into wherever he goes next year. He has been equipped with things that are far more important than academics or anything that any school could provide. He has been given love and guidance and a foundation that will last him his entire life. Yes. And so I'm just so thankful that, God has done this for us, and that He'll continue, because Angelina's got another 4 years still, that He'll continue to see it through. But I think, that was what was on my heart to share. I've got lots of stories, but that's the one that was on my heart to share today.
Oh my God, so powerful. Yeah. I'm almost speechless. Like, this is just, I have chills. Like, this is like so, like, literally, how we need to be as believers, like
Yeah.
literally doing life, taking every single step with God, with the faith that we know, like having faith to know that He's going to come through.
Right.
He's going to provide. He's Jehovah Jireh. He is our provider, even when we don't know where it's coming from. America says so
So,
on time. She's
so
like,
on
that's
time.
so good. Yes, it's so true. Like God is so divine and so strategic. And I love the fact that you said that literally the first and the fifth grade were open. Like, what are the odds in that? That's only God.
Only God. And there were
Yeah.
so many things throughout that it was just like it was undeniable. So sometimes, sometimes we got to get really quiet and hear God's whisper. Sometimes He's yelling at us, and it's our job to be obedient to what He's telling us. And that's what I felt. And I really wrestled with it because I was like, Aimee, I'm stubborn. And I had to ask myself, are you just being stubborn here, wanting what you want? And I was like, no, God has sent you enough signs to know that this is not of you.
Right.
Yeah, this is something you'd like, but this is of God, and God's going to see you through it. So,
Yes, I love it. I love His confirmations. I love His divine whispers.
yeah,
Man, this testimony is amazing. Thank you so much, Aimee. It just encouraged me so much.
good.
Man, so powerful. So thank you everyone that's joining. Uh, some My husband was asking earlier if you could repeat what you said before. I believe it was in regards to the when you mentioned God doesn't give us more than we can
Yeah,
bear,
that was Teresa.
right? Yeah.
Teresa told me God doesn't give you more. Wait,
He
God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And she said, no, He does. He does give you more than you can handle. So you can't do it without Him,
right.
fool.
Yes, that part.
Get out of your own strength. You're
Yes.
divine.
Yeah, yeah, you have to lean on Him. That's so
Yeah.
powerful. It's such a good perspective. And so thank you everyone that's watching and everyone that'll watch the replay. And I just wanted to ask you, Aimee, if you can give a word of advice for anyone that's watching who may be feeling like God is nudging them, like they're seeing signs, but they're afraid to take that leap of faith. They know God is calling them for more, but they're afraid to take that leap of faith. Like, what's a word of advice that you would give to them?
Yeah, I think you've got to lean on Him, and I think it's not that He's testing us, but He's giving us the opportunity to practice. And sometimes it's not with these big life decisions. Sometimes it's these small things that we hear, and sometimes He'll ask us to do something. We're like, no, not me. Like, no, it's not me. But that's Him. That's Him, like sharpening that tool of learning to lean on Him, and giving us our faith muscle more strength. And so when you hear those little things, you've got to take those steps. You've got to do it, and just continuing to walk in that path, so that way when the bigger things do come up, you've already got it. He's there with you, and you have that to lean on. So
Yeah.
that would be what I'd encourage, is just listen for it, even if it's a tiny whisper. Go. And if it's the wrong thing, He's going to redirect you. Like
Yes.
He's with you.
Right. I love that. Yeah, right. Romans 8:28. That's one
That's
of
my
my favorite scriptures.
favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
He'll definitely all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to His purpose. So it's like we can't fail. We're
Right.
walking with Him, and even if we misstep, He's going to redirect our steps. I love that you said that. That's powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. That is so good. Thank you so much, Aimee,
Absolutely.
for joining. And
Thank you.
I just wanted you to share, like, with everyone, like anything that you have coming up, anything you wanna, just how they could keep in touch with you. And
Yeah. You could just follow here on the Instagram channel. I've always got all kinds of things coming up, but I love working with women and redirecting like lifestyle habits that we have that are sometimes getting in our way of being our best selves. And
yes,
sometimes it takes somebody looking from the outside looking in to hold up a mirror and say, hey, how's this serving you? What if we try this instead? And creating things that we can create lifestyle, not just 30-day challenges. Those are appropriate sometimes too, but lifestyle, to make sure that we're walking in our full power with the most vitality and energy, so we can show up and do the things that we should do every day.
yeah, that's so good. That's so
Yeah.
good. Yeah, you guys, make sure you guys are following Aimee. She is amazing, amazing, amazing. I've learned so much from you, and I'm just so happy to be a part of everything, and just with the everything that I've learned from you with human grace and just all the things. It's just powerful. And I'm so happy to get started and to just continue to persevere in that direction. And so, ah, man, so this was awesome, Aimee. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone
Yeah.
who's joined. And I'm just gonna, excuse me, I'm just gonna tell you, just as God told me, put one foot in front of the other, step out on faith, and trust God for the next step. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye now.